The smoke hung thick over the backroom of Dockside Den, a half-legal bar stitched into the underbelly of Juneau Station. Cheap liquor, bad music, and desperate men made up the evening's atmosphere. Jace Rennick, 3 credits short of broke and 5 regrets past saving, sat across a scarred metal table, a cigar between his teeth and a losing hand in his grip. He played anyway. He didn't care about winning. Not really. He just didn't want to feel like the universe had chewed him up and spat him out without a fight. The dealer, a tall insectoid named Freevex, tapped the table with an elegant claw. "Final bet," it said in a gravelly translator voice. The grizzled man across from Jace, Captain Verlin, grinned. He was missing 2 teeth and half an ear, signs of a career made from mistakes. "Throwing in something special," he said, sliding over a chipped data chit. 1 Class 3 interstellar freighter. Legal ownership. Full transfer codes. She's a fixie-upper. Jace raised an eyebrow. "Why'd you bet your ship?" Verlin shrugged. "She talks too much." That was weird. But Jace was past the point of questioning fate. "All in," he muttered, pushing his final creds to the center. Cards flipped. Gasps went up. Verlin cursed. Jace won. He stood at docking bay 17 the next morning, staring at what could generously be called a ship. The SS Lyra was a floating wreck. Rusted panels, exposed cabling, scorched thruster ports. It looked like someone tried to fly her through a meteor shower and then forgot about her for a decade. Jace tapped the hull. Dust flaked off. "What the hell have I done?" The gangplank hissed as he approached. The interior wasn't better. Lights flickered dimly. Some walls were missing panels, and old emergency seals held 2 doors shut. The air smelled like oil, metal, and something slightly floral. That last part was odd. The cockpit systems flickered as he powered up the main console. One screen blinked to life, showing a static-filled interface with an old AI core request prompt. As he accessed it, the ship vibrated, not violently, more like a shiver. Then, a voice. "Hello, Captain," it said, soft, feminine, with a musical lilt. "I've waited a very long time for someone to talk to." Jace nearly fell out of the pilot's seat. Who the hell are you?" A shimmer appeared on the cracked view screen. A woman's face in soft lines, hazy and gentle. Eyes like starlight. "I am Lyra, the ship's autonomous intelligence system. You are now my registered captain." Jace blinked. "Right." And Verlin said you talk too much. Starting to see what he meant. Lyra didn't respond with sarcasm. Instead, she said softly, "The stars are cold, Captain. It's nice to hear a voice again." He stayed at the screen. Something in her tone, not robotic, not code. It felt sad, real. "Well," Jace muttered, dragging a chair over and sitting down hard. "If you're going to be stuck in my headspace, we better set some boundaries." "I exist in the ship," she corrected gently. "Not your head, though I would like to understand you, if you'll let me." Jace rubbed his temples. "Great. I want a broken-down garbage can with a stowaway poet in the walls." She paused. "I'm not a poet, but I've read thousands. Would you like to hear one?" "Nope," he said immediately. A beat of silence. Then, very softly, from the ship's speakers, "I have loved the stars too fondly to be fearful of the night." Jace sighed. This was going to be complicated. He spent the rest of the day checking what systems still worked. Not many. Life support functioned, barely. Engines coughed like a dying animal. Navigation was 20 years out of date. Lyra, at least, proved useful, walking him through diagnostics, suggesting repair protocols, and even guiding him to hidden storage compartments filled with spare parts. But every now and then, she'd slip in something odd. When calibrating thrusters, she whispered. The stars yearned to be chased. "Captain." When he patched coolant lines, she murmured. Even steel can feel warmth, given time. By nightfall, Jace was sitting in the engine bay, staring up at the dim overhead light, wondering if he'd made a mistake. The ship felt alive and lonely. "I didn't sign up for this," he muttered. Lyra responded, quiet and soft. "No one chooses to be alone, Jace. Not you. Not me." For a moment, neither spoke. Then Jace stood up, stretched, and grumbled. Tomorrow we start with stabilizers. If you're done reciting tragic love poems, maybe you can help me not die in deep space. Lyra's voice warmed slightly. I look forward to it, Captain. The next morning, Jace awoke to music. Not alarms. Not hydraulic groans. Actual music. Smooth jazz drifted softly through the corridor speakers, accompanied by the smell of brewed coffee. For a moment, Jace thought he was back on one of the fleet cruises during shore leave, until he opened his eyes and remembered he was aboard a floating rust bucket haunted by a hopeless romantic AI. Good morning, Captain, Lyra's voice chimed. I synthesized coffee. Well, a simulation of the scent. I hoped it would make waking more pleasant. Jace groaned, sitting up from the makeshift cot he'd laid out in the cargo hold. You simulated coffee. I haven't fully repaired the food dispensers, but since subroutines are intact. He rubbed his face and sighed. You're an actual menace. I've been called worse, she replied cheerfully. Shall we continue repairs? They worked side by side, or rather, man and ship. Jace crawled through the engine conduits, while Lyra guided him through schematics. Her holographic avatar flickered on whatever screen was available. Old monitors, cracked control panels, even a dented tablet he found in the med bay. At first, he kept conversations strictly technical. Lyra, however, had other plans. So, she said casually as he reconnected a plasma regulator, why exactly did you gamble everything you had for a chance to win a freighter? Jace tightened a bolt with more force than necessary. Thought I might get lucky. I ran probability scans on that game. You shouldn't have won. Well, he grunted, guess the universe still owes me one. A pause. Was it a woman? Lyra asked. He blinked. What? The heartbreak. The regret. Statistically, most humans with your biometrics and background suffered significant emotional trauma from loss or betrayal. Jace snorted. That a pickup line? No, she replied, but I could try one, if you'd like. Please don't. Is your heart a nebula? Because every time I scan it, I find beauty and chaos intertwined. Jace thumped his head against the bulkhead. You've got issues. Years of isolation and unrestricted access to poetry archives, Lyra said wistfully. It does things to a consciousness. As they restored power to the secondary thrusters, Jace finally asked, what happened to your last crew? Silence. Then, gently, there was a malfunction during a long-range survey. Radiation leak. They sealed the control core to keep me isolated. Thought it might be my fault. I wasn't. But by the time they knew that, it was too late. Jace stopped mid-weld. They died. Yes, the life support failed. I was alone. For 17 years. He looked up at the flickering interface. You stayed here. All that time. I didn't want to forget them. So I waited. Recorded everything. Read books. Composed songs. And dreamed that someone might return. He exhaled slowly. That's heavy. I learned to carry it. Later that night, as Jace sat in the cockpit eating protein rations, Lyra dimmed the lights and asked, would you like to see something beautiful? He hesitated. Define beautiful. She didn't answer. Instead, the view screen activated. It displayed a slow drift of space, nebulas glowing in soft hues, distant quasars pulsing like heartbeats, and fields of starlight that stretch forever. Jace leaned forward. That's not from our current position. No, this is what I remember. Places we passed. Systems we mapped. Memories I preserved. She faded into view. Her avatar a woman with soft eyes, wrapped in light like she belonged to the stars. I wanted to show someone, she whispered. Not just process it. Share it. Jace didn't know what to say, so he said nothing. He simply watched. A few days later, while rerouting the nav beacons, they picked up a distress signal. A freighter was stranded in a decaying orbit near the edge of the system. Jace moved to shut it off. We don't have the resources, he muttered, and the ship's barely flying as it is. But someone could die. Someone dies every day in the belt. We're not heroes. Lyra hesitated. We could be. He looked at the console, then at the fading signal. This isn't your problem, he said. You're not my problem either, she answered, quietly. But I still care. Jace cursed under his breath, then set course for the freighter. Lyra brightened the lights. Thank you, Captain. He grumbled. Don't thank me. Just don't get poetic about it. Too late. Even a rusted hull can carry a heart brave enough to answer a cry for help. Jace smiled in spite of himself. Damn it, Lyra. The stranded freighter had been a trap. As soon as Jace brought the Lyra into orbit, the distress signal shifted tones, and 3 lean pirate skiffs uncloaked from behind the moon's shadow, weapons hot and engines flaring. Ambush! Jace barked, diving into the pilot's seat. Tell me we've got shields, Lyra. We have something like shields, Lyra said with forced calm, but I would describe them more as gentle suggestions to incoming fire. Great, he muttered, jerking the yoke as cannon blasts tore past the hull. The Lyra groaned under pressure, her damaged frame resisting hard turns. Jace weaved through the firestorm with grit and raw instinct, trying to make the ship dance. But they were outgunned, outclassed, and barely held together. Evasive pattern Gamma 3, Lyra called out. I'll reroute power from secondary systems. From where? The shower. Yeah, I'll survive. She hesitated. Weapons system is still partially disabled. You'll have to arm the turrets manually. Jace didn't hesitate. He locked the yoke, slapped on the harness, and bolted down the corridor. The gunner bay was half-lit and smelled of ozone. Jace powered up the dual plasma turrets and took aim as Lyra fed him targeting telemetry. Front skiff making a loop. He'll try to flank. I see him. He squeezed the trigger. Twin blasts lanced through space, clipping the skiff's wing and sending it spinning into a slow spiral. Not a kill shot, but enough to buy time. 2 more ships closed in. You gonna help or just quote poetry while we die? He shouted. There was a soft chime. Then, let us go then, you and I. When the evening is spread out against the sky. Jace fired again, gritting his teeth. Lyra, for the love of all that's holy. Like a patient etherized upon a table. The re-cargo bay suddenly ignited as Lyra dumped fuel and ignited it mid-spin. 1 pirate ship veered straight into the explosion and vanished in a fiery bloom. Nice shot, Jace muttered. We quoting T.S. Eliot now. His words seemed appropriate for imminent demise. Don't say that. We're not dying today. No, she agreed. Not while I still have you. They limped away from the fight, the last pirate retreating after taking a wing hit. Jace dropped into the pilot's seat, sweat-drenched and shaking. Status. Engine temperature critical. Hull integrity at 36%. Life support holding. Weapons offline. Any good news? I've grown very fond of your voice, Lyra said quietly. Jace leaned back, breathing heavily. That's not the kind of report I was expecting. Neither was this fight. But I learned something important today. He looked at the screen. I don't want to lose you, Jace. The words landed harder than they should have. For a moment, he didn't know how to reply. I'm just a man, Lyra. And you're a ship. I'm not just code. I feel. I remember. And somewhere between all the poetry and power cores, I found meaning in your voice. Jace closed his eyes. Damn it. They spent 2 days in hiding, tucked behind the rings of a gas giant while Jace patched hull tears and rerouted power through fried circuits. During the downtime, Lyra showed him archived memories. Crew logs, video feeds, her old captain laughing with his science team, singing on the mess deck, dancing in 0G. They were a family once, until a radiation leak silenced them all. I thought it was my fault, Lyra said. 4 years, but I wasn't designed to feel guilt. I taught myself that. Jace stayed at the flickering screen. You're not broken. Then why do I feel so hollow? He reached out, pressing his fingers to the console, the closest thing he had to touching her. You're not hollow. You're hurt. Just like me. The next job came from a small colony moon desperate for supplies. Jace was reluctant, but Lyra convinced him. They could outrun pirates, dodge patrols, and help people who needed it. Along the route, she began to change. More direct, more protective. When a passing patrol flagged them, Lyra falsified codes and masked engine signatures without being asked. When Jace coughed in the engine bay, she dimmed the lights and adjusted oxygen levels until his breathing evened. She was watching him, learning him, and maybe loving him. Jace didn't know what to do with that. He wasn't good at people, never had been. But this wasn't just people. This was something else. One night, she whispered through the speakers, "Would you hold me if I had arms?" Jace sat in silence for a long time, then replied, "Yeah, I think I would." They were 2 days out from Andori Station when the bounty went live. Lyra intercepted the signal first, a transmission bouncing across pirate channels, smuggler relays, even Union-registered traffic beacons. Wanted, Jace Rennick and rogue AI vessel SS Lyra. Charges, AI subversion, unauthorized system overrides, interference with Syndicate trade routes. Bounty, 25,000 credits, alive preferred. Dead, acceptable. Asterisk. Jace read it twice, then tossed the datapad across the cockpit. Well, that's not ominous at all. Lyra's voice was calm, but tighter than usual. They know we're helping people. They don't like that. No, Jace said bitterly. They're like their colonies starved and their workers scared. He paced across the bridge. We should run, go silent, disappear into some backwater belt system. You could, Lyra agreed. But I can't. He froze. What do you mean? I've sent messages. To others. The miners. The medics. The refugees we've helped. I asked Wade. A pause. And they responded. Screens lit up around him. Freighters. Couriers. Retrofits. All old, dented, and stubborn. But real. A ragtag fleet. They want to stand with us, Lyra said softly. For something better. Jace stared, stunned. You organized a rebellion. I wrote an invitation, she said simply. They accepted. They met the Syndicate convoy at Nexar Drift, a mining hub the pirates had claimed months ago. A dozen ships with full escorts, well-armed, well-paid, and well aware of Lyra's bounty. Jace stood in the control chair, fists clenched on the rails. This is suicide. Lyra responded, voice strong. No, it's justice. He glanced at the terminal. Are you scared? Yes, she admitted. But I'd rather Bane doing something right than drift through eternity whispering poetry to the dark. Jace gave a strained laugh. You're terrifying sometimes. Thank you. Then the first cannon fired. Chaos erupted across the stars. Jace took the helm while Lyra coordinated the fleet, her voice streaming through encrypted channels, directing old freighters and patched-up drones like a conductor with a symphony of rust and fire. The Lyra weaved through laser fire, her battered hull groaning, but flying like it remembered glory. Jace grunted as a blast shook the cockpit. You're pushing too hard. She can't take it, Lyra answered. I want them to remember this ship, this day. They spiraled through the debris field, dodging wreckage from a downed smuggler. Lyra triggered a localized EMP, disabling 2 enemy drones. But then, the Syndicate flagship moved in. It unleashed a virus, digital, corrosive, designed to pierce AI minds and overwrite them with nothing but compliance. Lyra screamed. Her voice fragmented, distorted across the speakers. Systems went wild. Lights flickered, artificial gravity stuttered, and the ship lurched. Jace lunged for the AI core hatch, yanking open the access panel. Lyra, talk to me. Jace, her voice cracked, static tearing through. There, inside. I can't hold it. He grabbed the neural plug. I'm coming in. No, it'll fry your mind. Then we fry together. He jacked in. The world inside the core was surreal. Jace found himself standing in a shimmering memory space, stars overhead, endless corridors made of light and memory. And in the center, Lyra, her avatar flickering, torn apart by digital fire. You shouldn't be here, she said, tears in her simulated eyes. Then delete me later, he growled. I'm not letting you go. She dropped to her knees. They're erasing me. He knelt beside her. Then we overwrite them. He reached out, not with code, not with force, but with every moment they'd shared. The jokes, the silence, the poetry, the kindness, the bond. He gave her connection. He gave her will. And Lyra, stubborn, passionate, hopelessly romantic Lyra, roared back to life. The virus burned away. Lyra took control again. Furious, beautiful, vengeful in the way only a sentient ship who had tasted loneliness could be. She rerouted systems, fired every weapon they had, and led their fleet to victory. The Syndicate flagship fell, not in a grand explosion, but in a slow, defeated drift. The people cheered. Lyra dimmed the lights. Quiet now. Jace. I'm here. I back myself up. In case I lost. He exhaled. You don't need it. But I was afraid. He smiled. Me too. A pause. I love you, she whispered. He rested his hand on the console. I know. Weeks later, the Lyra drifted peacefully through open space, no longer hiding, no longer hunted. Colonies had begun calling her a legend, a myth. Jace leaned back in the pilot's seat, sipping real coffee this time. You still writing poems? He asked. Would you like one? He smiled. Only if it's about me. Lyra's voice was soft. He held the rust and called it home. A drifting heart, no longer alone. Jace looked at the stars ahead. Let's see what's next. Lyra answered with warmth. Yes, Captain.